The sky above Earth glowed an eerie red as the Galactic Alliance's massive fleet descended upon the planet. Their ships, sleek and menacing, blocked out the sun, casting long shadows over cities that had once thrived with life. Humanity had known this day would come eventually. For years, they had relied on their planetary shields to keep the invaders at bay. These shields, developed by brilliant minds like Dr. Laura Bennett, had been Earth's only defense against the overwhelming power of the Galactic Alliance. But now those shields were gone, shattered by a weapon designed specifically to destroy them. Commander Alex Carter stood on the bridge of what remained of Earth's orbital defense station. His face was grim as he watched the enemy fleet move into position. The screens around him flickered with data, showing the extent of the damage. Entire sections of the shield network were offline, leaving continents exposed. Cities that had stood tall for centuries were now vulnerable. He clenched his fists tightly, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. This was it. The moment humanity had feared for decades. Down on Earth, chaos erupted. News broadcasts showed panicked crowds flooding streets, trying to escape the inevitable. Buildings shook as distant explosions rocked the horizon. The first wave of attacks had already begun, targeting major cities. New York burned, its towering skyscrapers crumbling under the relentless assault. Tokyo was engulfed in flames while London's historic landmarks crumbled into dust. It was a scene straight out of humanity's worst nightmares. President Daniel Hayes sat in the bunker beneath Washington, D.C., watching the devastation unfold on multiple monitors. His advisors whispered urgently around him, offering strategies that no longer mattered. The shields were down. Without them, Earth was defenseless. Hayes took a deep breath before stepping in front of a camera. His voice was steady, though his eyes betrayed the fear inside him. To the people of Earth, he began, we are facing our darkest hour. The Galactic Alliance has struck a devastating blow, but we will not surrender, we will fight. Together we will endure. Unbeknownst to the Galactic Alliance, and even to many humans, a secret project was underway far below the surface. Deep, beneath the ruins of Chicago, hidden in a labyrinth of tunnels and reinforced chambers, Dr. Emily Dawson worked tirelessly. She paced back and forth in her lab, surrounded by glowing screens and humming machinery. Her team, which included engineers, Jack Monroe and Samantha Lee, shared her determination. They knew the stakes. If they failed, humanity would be wiped out. For months, Dr. Dawson had been studying fragments of alien technology recovered from previous battles. These pieces, though damaged, held clues to advanced science beyond anything humanity had ever seen. Late one night, after countless failures, she stumbled upon something extraordinary. By combining elements of alien tech with human biology, she discovered a way to create bioshields, temporary force fields generated by individuals themselves. It was risky, untested, and wildly experimental, but it was also humanity's last hope. Back on the orbital defense station, Commander Carter received word of Dr. Dawson's breakthrough. At first, he dismissed it as impossible. How could ordinary humans generate shields? But desperate times called for desperate measures. With no other options left, he ordered a small group of soldiers to undergo testing. Among them was Corporal Ryan Parker, a seasoned veteran who had seen too much death already. Ryan wasn't optimistic about the idea. To him, it sounded like science fiction. Still, he followed orders, knowing there was nothing else to lose. The tests took place in a secure facility miles away from the front lines. Soldiers strapped into chairs lined with sensors, their bodies connected to machines that hummed softly. Dr. Dawson explained the process calmly, though her hands trembled slightly. This might feel strange, she warned, but trust me, it could save your life. As the experiment began, Ryan closed his eyes, focusing on the instructions. At first nothing happened. Then slowly a faint shimmer appeared around him. It grew brighter, forming a translucent barrier that crackled with energy. The room fell silent as everyone stared in awe. Ryan opened his eyes, looking at the shield surrounding him. He reached out tentatively, touching it. It felt solid yet alive, pulsing with warmth. For the first time in weeks, a spark of hope ignited within him. Maybe humanity still had a chance. News of the successful tests spread quickly, reaching President Hayes. After consulting with his advisors, he made a bold decision. Every available resource would be poured into training civilians to use the bioshields. Schools, stadiums, and abandoned factories were converted into training centers overnight. Teachers, doctors, farmers, all kinds of people were recruited to learn how to protect themselves. It was a monumental task, but desperation drove them forward. As the days passed, stories of courage began to emerge. A young mother named Lisa Thompson used her newly acquired bioshield to shield her children from falling debris. An elderly man, George Simmons, surprised everyone by generating a shield strong enough to stop a drone attack. Slowly, but surely, humanity started adapting. The Galactic Alliance noticed, too. Captain Logan Reed, leading the invasion, grew increasingly frustrated. Reports poured in about unexpected resistance from seemingly unarmed civilians. What should have been a swift victory was turning into a protracted battle. Despite the progress, challenges remained. Many struggled to master the bioshields, and casualties continued to mount. Supplies were running low and morale wavered. Yet amidst the darkness, a new spirit emerged. People banded together, sharing knowledge and supporting each other. Neighbors became comrades, united by a common goal: survival. Deep underground, Dr. Dawson worked nonstop, refining the technology based on feedback from the field. She knew the bioshields weren't perfect, but they didn't need to be. All they needed to do was buy humanity enough time to turn the tide. And somewhere, deep in the hearts of those fighting, a quiet resolve took root. Earth may have fallen, but humanity had not. Not yet. Beneath the ruins of Chicago, Dr. Emily Dawson moved with purpose through the dimly lit corridors of her underground lab. The air was thick with tension, and the hum of machinery echoed off the cold metal walls. Her team worked around the clock, their faces illuminated by the glow of screens displaying complex data streams. Jack Monroe, a wiry engineer with sharp eyes, adjusted dials on a control panel, while Samantha Lee, a physicist with a calm demeanor, analyzed readings from the latest bioshield tests. They were racing against time, knowing that every second counted. The breakthrough had been monumental, but it wasn't enough. Generating shields on an individual level was one thing. Scaling it up to protect entire populations was another. Dr. Dawson knew they needed more than just raw power. They needed efficiency. She gathered her team in a small briefing room, its walls covered in scribbled equations and diagrams. "We've made progress," she began, her voice steady despite the exhaustion etched on her face. "But we're still far from where we need to be. If we want to give humanity a fighting chance, we have to refine this technology." Jack leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "The problem is consistency," he said. "Some people can generate shields easily, while others struggle. We need to figure out why." Samantha nodded in agreement. "It's not just about physical strength or focus. There's something deeper at play here, maybe even psychological factors." Dr. Dawson paced the room, her mind racing. "Then, we test for those factors. We find patterns, and we adapt." Her words carried a quiet determination that inspired her team. Over the next few days, they conducted dozens of experiments, collecting data from volunteers who came forward to help. These weren't soldiers or scientists, but ordinary people, teachers, mechanics, students, all willing to risk their lives for the greater good. Each test brought new insights, and slowly, the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together. Meanwhile, above ground, Commander Alex Carter faced mounting pressure. The Galactic Alliance's attack showed no sign of slowing down. Cities burned and casualties mounted. Supplies dwindled, and morale among the defenders was fragile. He convened a meeting with his top officers in a makeshift command center housed in an abandoned warehouse. Maps and holographic displays covered the walls, showing the extent of the devastation. "We're losing ground faster than we can hold it," one officer admitted grimly. If we don't act soon, there won't be anything left to defend. Carter listened intently, his jaw clenched. He knew they couldn't rely solely on conventional tactics, not when the enemy had superior firepower. His thoughts turned to Dr. Dawson's project. It was risky, unproven, and fraught with uncertainty, but it was also their best shot. After much deliberation, he made a decision. "We deploy the bioshields," he announced firmly. "Train as many civilians as possible. Teach them how to use this technology. It's our only chance." The order sent ripples through the ranks. Some were skeptical, questioning whether ordinary people could truly wield such power. Others saw it as a desperate gamble, but desperation was all they had. Training centers sprang up across the globe, hastily assembled in schools, stadiums, and community halls. Instructors, many of whom were former soldiers or engineers, guided groups of volunteers through the process. It wasn't easy. Many struggled to grasp the concept, let alone execute it. Frustration ran high, but so did determination. One such volunteer was Lisa Thompson, a young mother from Denver. She had joined the program after witnessing the destruction of her neighborhood firsthand. Her children were safe in a shelter, but she refused to sit idly by while others fought for their survival. During her first training session, she stood awkwardly in front of a group of instructors, unsure of what to do. "Just focus," one of them urged. "Feel the energy inside you. Let it flow outward." Lisa closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. At first, nothing happened. Then a faint shimmer appeared around her, growing brighter with each passing second. When she opened her eyes, she saw the shield surrounding her, crackling with energy. A smile broke across her face. For the first time in weeks, she felt a glimmer of hope. Stories like Lisa's spread quickly, inspiring others to join the effort. Across the planet, people pushed themselves beyond their limits, learning to harness abilities they never knew they possessed. Farmers, doctors, teachers, all walks of life, became part of a collective movement to reclaim their world. Corporal Ryan Parker, who had initially doubted the bioshields, found himself mentoring newcomers. Watching them succeed reignited his faith in humanity's resilience. "We're stronger than they think," he told a group of trainees one evening. "Stronger than we ever imagined." Despite these victories, challenges persisted. The Galactic Alliance adapted too, deploying new strategies to counteract the unexpected resistance. Captain Logan Reed, leading the invasion, grew increasingly frustrated. Reports of civilian-led defenses baffled him. How could a species so primitive pose such a threat? Determined to crush the uprising, he ordered intensified assaults on key locations. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to rubble, yet the human spirit refused to break. Back in the underground lab, Dr. Dawson monitored the situation closely. She communicated regularly with field operatives, gathering feedback on the bioshield's performance. One night, as she reviewed the data, she noticed a recurring pattern. Those who generated the strongest shield shared a common trait: emotional intensity. Whether driven by anger, grief, or love, their emotions amplified the energy required to create the shields. It was a revelation that could change everything. Excited by the discovery, Dr. Dawson shared her findings with Commander Carter. "If we can teach people to channel their emotions effectively, we can boost the shield's strength," she explained. Carter nodded thoughtfully. "Do it," he said. "Whatever it takes." Training programs evolved accordingly, incorporating techniques to help individuals tap into their innermost feelings. Meditation sessions became as crucial as technical drills. Instructors encouraged participants to reflect on their motivations, what they were fighting for, and why it mattered. The results were remarkable. Shields grew stronger, lasting longer under sustained pressure. Civilians transformed into warriors, their newfound abilities turning the tide in skirmishes across the globe. Even President Daniel Hayes took notice. From his bunker beneath Washington, D.C., he delivered another address to the nation. This time his tone was different, hopeful, resolute. "The Galactic Alliance underestimated us," he declared. "They thought destroying our shields would destroy us. But they were wrong. Humanity adapts. Humanity endures. Together, we will rise again. As the days turned into weeks, the balance of power shifted subtly. The invaders found themselves bogged down in prolonged engagements, unable to achieve the swift victory they had anticipated. Above all, they failed to understand the heart of humanity, the indomitable will to survive, to protect, to fight for a better future. And though the battle was far from over, one truth became undeniable. Earth's greatest weapon was not technology, but its people. The war had changed. What began as a lopsided battle between an advanced alien force and a seemingly defenseless planet had evolved into something neither side anticipated. The Galactic Alliance, confident in their overwhelming superiority, now faced an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. Humanity, armed with bioshields and fueled by sheer willpower, was adapting faster than anyone thought possible. Every attack launched by the invaders met resistance, stubborn, relentless, and often surprisingly effective. In the heart of Chicago's underground lab, Dr. Emily Dawson worked tirelessly alongside her team. The breakthroughs kept coming, each one building on the last. They discovered that emotional intensity wasn't just helpful, it was essential. Fear, anger, love, and hope all channeled energy in ways that strengthened the shields. This realization transformed training programs worldwide. People weren't just learning to generate shields, they were learning to harness their emotions, turning personal pain and determination into raw power. Jack Monroe, the wiry engineer, spent hours tweaking the algorithms that guided the bioshield technology. He noticed patterns emerging from the data. Older individuals tended to produce weaker shields and less deeply motivated, while younger volunteers often generated stronger ones due to their heightened emotional states. Samantha Lee focused on stabilizing the shields, ensuring they could withstand prolonged use without collapsing under stress. Their combined efforts brought steady improvements, giving humanity a fighting chance against the relentless assault. Above, Ground Commander Alex Carter coordinated the growing resistance movement. The once scattered remnants of Earth's military forces were now unified under a single goal: survival. Civilians trained in bioshield usage joined soldiers in skirmishes across the globe. Together, they formed a patchwork army, united not by rank or discipline but by necessity and shared purpose. It was chaotic, unpredictable, and far from perfect, but it worked. Corporal Ryan Parker found himself leading groups of volunteers into battle. At first, he struggled with the responsibility. These weren't trained soldiers, they were ordinary people thrust into extraordinary circumstances. Some froze under pressure, while others surprised him with acts of bravery. Over time, though, Ryan learned to trust them. He saw how their unique strengths complemented his own tactical experience. A farmer named Greg Mitchell proved adept at improvising traps using bioshields, while a schoolteacher named Ana Rivera inspired her group with calm, clear instructions, even amid chaos. One evening, after a particularly grueling engagement, Ryan sat with his team in the ruins of what had once been a bustling city square. Fires smoldered in the distance, casting flickering light over their exhausted faces. "We're holding our own," Ryan said quietly, breaking the silence. "But we can't keep this up forever. Sooner or later they'll adapt again," Anna nodded, brushing dirt from her hands. "Then we adapt too," she replied firmly. "That's what we've been doing since this started. We don't give up." Her words resonated with everyone present. Adaptation had become humanity's defining trait, not just in terms of technology but in spirit. The Galactic Alliance underestimated this resilience, believing brute force would be enough to crush Earth. But every attack only hardened humanity's resolve. Captain Logan Reed, leader of the invasion fleet, grew increasingly frustrated. Reports from the front lines painted a troubling picture. Entire squads of drones sent to eliminate civilian strongholds were being repelled by makeshift defenses powered by bioshields. Ground troops reported encountering enemies who seemed to appear out of nowhere, their glowing barriers deflecting plasma blasts with ease. Even orbital bombardments failed to achieve the desired results. As survivors emerged from wreckage, shielded by shimmering domes of energy. Reed convened a meeting aboard his flagship, demanding answers from his officers. "This is unacceptable," he barked, slamming his fist on the table. "How are these primitives managing to resist us? We destroyed their planetary shields. They should be defenseless." His subordinates exchanged uneasy glances. One officer stepped forward cautiously. "Sir, it seems they've developed some kind of adaptive countermeasure. We've never seen anything like it. It's almost as if they're evolving in real time." "Evolving?" Reed spat. "They're insects compared to us. Crush them." But crushing humanity proved more difficult than expected. The invaders escalated their attacks, targeting densely populated areas in an attempt to break morale. Cities burned brighter than ever and casualties mounted. Yet for every life lost, 10 more rose to take their place. Training centers overflowed with volunteers eager to learn how to fight back. Families hid in bunkers teaching their children how to summon shields. Communities banded together, pooling resources and sharing knowledge. President Daniel Hayes watched these developments from his bunker, feeling a mix of pride and sorrow. He delivered another address to the nation, his voice heavy with emotion. "The cost of freedom is high," he admitted. "Too many have given everything to protect what remains of our world. But let me tell you this. Humanity has shown its true strength. We may have lost much, but we have not lost ourselves. And as long as we stand united, we cannot be defeated." Dr. Emily Dawson monitored the situation closely, making adjustments to the bioshield technology based on feedback from the field. She communicated regularly with commanders like Alex Carter, refining strategies to maximize efficiency. Her team worked around the clock, pushing themselves to the brink of exhaustion. Jack Monroe joked grimly that they might collapse before the invaders did, but no one laughed. They knew the stakes too well. One night, as Dr. Dawson reviewed data from recent battles, she noticed something remarkable. Bioshields weren't just protecting individuals. They were beginning to synchronize. When multiple people stood close together, their shields merged into larger, more stable barriers. It was a phenomenon she hadn't anticipated, and it opened new possibilities. If humanity could coordinate these synchronized shields effectively, they might be able to create impenetrable fortresses capable of withstanding even the most devastating attacks. Excited by the discovery, Dr. Dawson relayed the information to Commander Carter immediately. "If we organize large groups of shield users strategically, we can form defensive networks that cover entire areas," she explained. "It won't stop their weapons entirely, but it will buy us time and inflict serious losses on their forces." Carter wasted no time implementing the strategy. He ordered teams of shield users to gather at key locations, forming human barricades around critical infrastructure. Factories producing supplies, hospitals treating the wounded, and communication hubs coordinating the resistance became fortified zones protected by overlapping shields. The effect was dramatic. Alien bombardments that once devastated entire neighborhoods now bounced harmlessly off shimmering walls of energy. Captain Logan Reed observed these developments with growing unease. His advisors warned him that continued escalation would only prolong the conflict, draining resources and testing the patience of the Galactic Alliance's leadership. "Perhaps it's time to reassess our approach," one suggested cautiously. "No," Reed snapped. "We finish this. Now." His pride wouldn't allow him to admit defeat, not when victory seemed so tantalizingly close. As the days turned into weeks, humanity continued to adapt. Each setback taught them something new. Each victory bolstered their confidence. The Galactic Alliance had underestimated Earth's defenders, assuming they would crumble under pressure. Instead, they grew stronger, more resilient, and more determined. The tide of the war was shifting, not dramatically, not decisively, but steadily. And though the outcome remained uncertain, one truth became clear. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or tactics. It was its unyielding spirit, forged in the fires of adversity and tempered by hope. The turning point came on a cold, overcast morning. The Galactic Alliance had launched yet another massive assault. targeting a cluster of cities in North America that served as vital hubs for the resistance. Their ships filled the sky, blotting out the weak sunlight and casting long shadows over the land below. The air vibrated with the low hum of engines and the sharp crackle of energy weapons firing from above. But this time, humanity was ready. Commander Alex Carter stood at the edge of a makeshift command center located in the ruins of an old industrial park. Around him, hundreds of volunteers, ordinary men and women, formed tight clusters, their bioshields glowing faintly as they prepared to defend their position. Each group had been trained to synchronize their shields, creating overlapping barriers that stretched across entire streets. The plan was risky but necessary. Hold the line long enough for reinforcements to arrive and counterattack. Corporal Ryan Parker led one such group, positioned near the heart of the defensive perimeter. His voice carried calm authority as he gave instructions. "Stay close," he reminded his team. "Focus on your emotions. Let them fuel your shields." Among his group were Anna Rivera, the schoolteacher who had become a natural leader, and Greg Mitchell, the farmer whose quick thinking had saved lives during earlier skirmishes. Both nodded silently, their faces tense but resolute. As the first wave of alien drones descended, the synchronized shields sprang to life. A shimmering wall of energy rose between the attackers and the defenders, deflecting plasma blasts and missile strikes. The invaders hesitated briefly, unprepared for the scale of the resistance. Then, with renewed ferocity, they pressed forward, launching relentless waves of attacks. Explosions rocked the ground, sending debris flying in all directions. Yet the shields held firm, flickering, but unbroken. Dr. Emily Carpenter monitored the battle remotely from her lab beneath Chicago. Her screens displayed live feeds from cameras scattered throughout the battlefield, showing the effectiveness of the synchronized shields. She watched intently, making real-time adjustments to the algorithms controlling the technology. Her fingers flew across keyboards, fine-tuning parameters to ensure stability under extreme conditions. Jack Monroe and Samantha Lee worked beside her, analyzing data streams and offering suggestions. "The shields are holding up better than expected," Jack muttered, his eyes glued to a monitor displaying stress levels. "But we're pushing them to their limits." Back on the front lines, Ryan's group faced mounting pressure. Alien ground troops advanced through the smoke and rubble, firing steadily at the glowing barriers. One soldier, a young woman named Lisa Thompson, stumbled momentarily, her shield flickering as exhaustion set in. Anna stepped forward quickly, placing a hand on Lisa's shoulder. "You've got this," she said firmly. Lisa took a deep breath, drawing strength from Anna's support, and her shield stabilized once more. Despite the chaos, moments of inspiration emerged. Greg noticed a pattern in the enemy's movements and suggested shifting part of the shield network to create a funnel, channeling the attackers into a narrow kill zone. Ryan agreed, relaying the idea to nearby teams. Within minutes, the defenders adjusted their positions, forcing the invaders into a bottleneck. When the aliens tried to break through, concentrated fire from human forces decimated their ranks. Cheers erupted among the defenders, brief but energizing. Captain Logan Reed watched the unfolding battle from his flagship, frustration boiling inside him. For weeks, his forces had encountered unexpected resistance, but nothing like this. Reports indicated that the synchronized shields were proving nearly impenetrable, even against their most powerful weapons. "They're learning faster than we anticipated," one of his officers admitted grimly. Reed clenched his fists, his pride wounded. "Then we adapt too," he growled. "Order the orbital cannons to target their weakest points, break them apart." The order came swiftly. Massive plasma beams lanced down from orbit, striking areas where the shields appeared thinner. Buildings collapsed, and dust clouds billowed into the air. But humanity adapted again. Dr. Carpenter's team redirected energy flows within the shields, reinforcing weak spots almost instantly. On the ground, commanders like Carter repositioned their forces dynamically, ensuring no single area bore the brunt of the attack for too long. President Daniel Hayes followed the battle closely from his bunker, receiving updates via secure channels. Though the situation remained dire, he felt a spark of optimism. Humanity was fighting back, not just surviving but actively resisting. He recorded another address, his tone steady and encouraging. "Today we show the galaxy what it means to be human," he declared. "We may have fallen, but we rise again. Together, we will prevail." As night fell, the battle reached its climax. The Galactic Alliance launched a final, desperate push, throwing everything they had at the defenders. Explosions lit up the horizon, shaking the Earth violently. Shields wavered under the strain, and some collapsed entirely, leaving pockets of humanity exposed. Yet even in those moments of vulnerability, courage shone through. Civilians without shields rushed to drag wounded comrades to safety, shielding them with their own bodies. Soldiers fought side by side with farmers, teachers, and mechanics, united by a shared purpose. In one decisive moment, Ryan spotted an opportunity. A critical plasma cannon mounted on an enemy walker had locked onto a cluster of civilians attempting to retreat. Without hesitation, he broke away from his group, sprinting toward the weapon. His shield flared brightly as he absorbed several direct hits, buying precious seconds. Reaching the cannon, he planted an explosive charge and dove clear just as it detonated, disabling the weapon. Cheers erupted behind him as the threat was neutralized. By dawn, the invaders began to withdraw. Their losses had been staggering and their confidence shaken. Captain Reed reluctantly ordered a retreat, vowing to regroup and return stronger. But for now, the immediate danger had passed. Commander Carter surveyed the aftermath, his expression a mix of relief and sorrow. Bodies lay scattered among the wreckage, testament to the cost of victory. Yet amidst the destruction, survivors emerged, battered but unbroken. They embraced one another, sharing quiet words of gratitude and resolve. The message was clear: humanity had endured. Deep underground, Dr. Carpenter allowed herself a brief moment of rest. Her team gathered around her, exhausted but triumphant. "We did it," Jack said softly, breaking the silence. Dr. Carpenter nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. "For now," she replied. "But there's still much work to do." Across the globe, stories of bravery spread rapidly. People celebrated the victory, however temporary, knowing it marked a turning point in the war. The Galactic Alliance had underestimated humanity and paid the price. Earth's defenders had proven themselves adaptable, resourceful, and unyielding. The fight was far from over, but for the first time in months, hope burned brighter than fear. The aftermath of the battle left Earth scarred but alive. Smoke lingered over cities, and the ruins of once thriving neighborhoods stood as grim reminders of the cost of survival. Yet amidst the devastation, a quiet sense of triumph began to take root. The Galactic Alliance's retreat marked more than just a tactical victory. It signaled a shift in the balance of power. For the first time, humanity had proven it could not only withstand the invaders but also push them back. Commander Alex Carter walked through the remains of the industrial park where the decisive stand had been made. His boots crunched over broken glass and twisted metal, and his face carried the weight of all he had seen. Around him, survivors worked tirelessly to clear debris and tend to the wounded. Medics moved from person to person, their faces weary but determined. Volunteers handed out food and water, sharing what little they had. Despite the losses, there was a palpable sense of unity, a shared understanding that they had faced the worst and survived. Corporal Ryan Parker sat on a pile of rubble, staring at the horizon. His body ached from the strain of battle, and his mind replayed moments he wished he could forget. He thought of friends lost, civilians who had sacrificed themselves to protect others, and the countless lives cut short by the invasion. Yet even in his grief, he felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in a long time: hope. Beside him, Anna Rivera rested her hand on his shoulder. "We did good," she said softly. "Not perfect, but good." Ryan nodded, his voice barely above a whisper. "Good enough to keep going." Word of the victory spread quickly. reaching every corner of the globe. News outlets broadcast images of glowing bioshields deflecting enemy fire, of ordinary people standing shoulder to shoulder against an overwhelming force. These stories inspired others to join the fight, swelling the ranks of the resistance. Training centers overflowed with new recruits, eager to learn how to defend their homes. Humanity's ability to adapt, to find strength in adversity, had become its greatest weapon. President Daniel Hayes addressed the world once again, this time from a partially restored communications hub in Washington, D.C. His voice carried both pride and solemnity as he spoke. Today we honor those who gave everything so that others might live. Their sacrifice will not be forgotten. But let us also remember this. We are still here. Against all odds, humanity endures. We have shown the galaxy that we are not easily broken, and though challenges remain, I believe in our ability to overcome them. His words resonated deeply, reigniting a spirit of resilience among the survivors. Cities began to rebuild, slowly and painstakingly. Factories resumed production, churning out supplies needed for the ongoing struggle. Farmers planted crops in fields scarred by conflict, knowing that feeding the population was as vital as defending it. Teachers returned to makeshift classrooms, teaching children not just about math and science, but about courage, adaptability, and the importance of working together. Dr. Emily Carpenter continued her work in the underground lab, refining the bioshield technology based on lessons learned. From the battlefield, her team analyzed data from recent engagements, identifying areas for improvement. They discovered ways to extend the duration of shields and reduce the physical toll on users. Jack Monroe suggested incorporating feedback loops that would allow shields to self-stabilize during moments of emotional fatigue. Samantha Lee focused on enhancing the synchronization process, ensuring larger groups could form cohesive barriers more efficiently. Their efforts paid off. Over time, the bioshields became more reliable, capable of withstanding even the most intense attacks. Civilians grew more proficient in their use, learning to channel emotions without burning out. Entire communities practiced forming shield networks, turning villages and towns into fortified zones. Humanity's defenses evolved rapidly, driven by necessity and fueled by determination. Meanwhile, the Galactic Alliance struggled to comprehend what had happened. Captain Logan Reed faced harsh criticism from his superiors, who demanded answers for the failure. "They should have been crushed," one officer shouted during a heated meeting aboard the flagship. "How could primitives outmaneuver us?" Reed clenched his jaw, his pride wounded but unbroken. "They adapted," he admitted grudgingly. "Faster than we anticipated, but they're still primitives. We'll crush them next time." Yet, doubts lingered among the Alliance's leadership. The war had dragged on longer than expected, draining resources and testing public support. Some advisors suggested negotiating a truce, arguing that further escalation would only prolong the conflict. Others pushed for renewed aggression, convinced that total victory was within reach. The debate raged on, leaving the fleet in limbo. Back on Earth, humanity seized the opportunity to regroup and prepare. Commander Carter coordinated efforts to fortify key locations, establishing defensive perimeters around major cities and supply routes. He worked closely with Dr. Carpenter, integrating her latest advancements into training programs. Bioshield users practiced forming layered barriers, creating impenetrable walls of energy, designed to repel even orbital bombardments. At the same time, engineers developed rudimentary weapon systems powered by the same quantum energy fields, giving defenders additional tools to fight back. As weeks turned into months, the planet transformed. What had once been a fractured, vulnerable world now stood united, ready to face whatever came next. People shared stories of heroism and sacrifice, passing them down like legends. A young mother named Lisa Thompson became a symbol of hope after using her shield to save dozens of children during an attack. An elderly man named George Simmons earned widespread admiration for his role in disabling an enemy drone with nothing but quick thinking and a glowing barrier. These tales reminded everyone that strength wasn't measured by technology or firepower. It was measured by heart. One evening, Ryan Parker climbed to the top of a hill overlooking a recovering city. The skyline was still dotted with craters and half-collapsed buildings, but construction crews worked tirelessly to repair the damage. Lights flickered in windows, signaling life returning to normalcy. He stood there quietly, reflecting on how far humanity had come. Beside him, Anna joined him, handing him a cup of warm tea. "It's not perfect," she said, gesturing toward the city. "But it's ours." Ryan smiled faintly, taking a sip of the tea. "Yeah," he replied. "Ours." In the distance, stars twinkled faintly in the night sky. Somewhere beyond them, the Galactic Alliance plotted its next move. But for now, Earth was safe. Humanity had proven itself adaptable, resilient, and unyielding. The road ahead would be difficult, filled with challenges yet unseen. But as Ryan looked out over the city, he knew one thing for certain. No matter what happened, humanity would rise again.